Freestanding handstand progressions. For the freestanding handstand, regardless of which progression you're at, or regardless of whichever drill that you're doing, you got to think about two things. The first is to maintain the hollow tension. So that means having tension in your shoulders, in your abs, in your glutes and quads, as well as your toes. So you should be engaging the entire body and tensing rather than just keeping it loose in the upside down position. And then the second is to try and stretch your body all the way forward and all the way back for the hollow hold position, so that when you're in the upside down position, you can stretch your body and elongate your body upward as much as you can. So maintaining those two types of tension is going to be important for the freestanding handstands. So the sort of tension you want to create while you're upside down is essentially a hollow hold, but it's more of an inverted hollow hold, so you should be in the pronated position, facing down. Okay, you're going to have your feet together, heels touching, toes touching together. You're going to have your hands about shoulder width apart. So from here, you're going to create a hollow tension. So you're going to push down on your elbows, and you're going to try and push down on your shoulders and maintain a hollow back. From here, you're going to squeeze your abs, tuck in your tailbone, squeeze your glutes, squeeze your quads, have your toes pointed, and you're going to stretch your body all the way forward, all the way back with your limbs, and try to look slightly in between your hands. Okay, so that's going to be the sort of the tension that you want to maintain in the top of the wall walk, or the kick up to handstand, and the freestanding handstand holds. Now, before you get into the freestanding handstands, there's a few things that you need to work on. The first would be strength and stamina in the upside down position. You need to be able to support your body weight in the upside down position. And you also need to develop a sense of balance, whether it be wall facing the wall or wall facing away from the wall. And you also need to learn to kick up to handstands. So we're going to go for the first progression, which is wall walk into the wall handstand. In the wall handstand position, this will teach you a few things. The first would be to get into a vertical position where your ankles are stacked over your hips, over your shoulders, over your wrists. And once you can get into a fairly vertical position as opposed to a diagonal position leaning against the wall, you'll have to develop the technique of gripping the floor using your fingertips. Okay. So here we'll demonstrate a wall walk. Okay, so you're going to start from the bottom of the push-up position, push up, have your arms straight, active shoulders maintained. You're going to walk your feet up. And your goal here is to get as vertical as possible. So you're going to have your ankles over your hips, over your shoulders, over your wrists. And you're going to try to shrug your shoulders. Remember, lift up your head slightly, locking between your hands. Have your fingers, index or middle fingers pointing forwards with your fingers spread. Again, try to stretch up as much as you can with only your toes touching the wall. Okay, so you're now in a nice and hollow position up against the wall. So if you feel like you're going to tip forwards, you can get a spotter just to make sure that you don't tip forwards, or you can use your fingertips to try not to fall forwards. Alternatively, you could come down sideways into a cartwheel, okay? And this will essentially be how you exit out of a kick up to handstand without the wall. So once you can do the wall walk quite proficiently, you could move on to practicing your kick up to handstands. So for the kick up to handstands, you're going to initially start with your hands at about 15 centimeters away from the wall. Okay, again, you're going to have your hands about shoulder width apart with your index and middle fingers pointing forwards. Fingers are always spread. For the kick up to handstands, there's a few things you've got to work on. The first one would be finding your front foot. So that's going to be your natural front leg that you surf with, skateboard with, or you naturally fall forwards with. And then the second thing is you got to decide whether you want to walk up to the wall to kick up to handstand, or whether you want to start with your hands on the floor to begin with. So Pedro here is going to show you how to kick up into the handstand with his hands on the ground first. That's probably the easiest way to do this, because this will help you find the stability that you need in your shoulders. So his natural front leg is his right leg, so he's going to be kicking up with his left leg first. Now he's going to be jumping with his right leg, but he's going to be kicking up with the left leg. So this leg is going to go up, and it's going to help him balance, and then the right leg is going to follow up. So it's going to look like this. You're going to pick up. So jump with your natural front leg, and then kick with the back leg, and then follow up with your natural front leg again. So you're going to come down. Let's do that again. And release. So when you're practicing the kick up to handstand, what you got to focus on isn't primarily whether your heels can touch the wall or not. You should primarily focus on stacking your hips over your shoulders, over your wrists. So that way you can balance even with your feet apart, and then you need to learn to bring your feet together in the air if you want to learn to kick up to handstands without the wall. Okay, so we'll demonstrate one more time. Hands on the ground. We're going to kick up slowly. Okay, so we're going to go gently and try to find that balance. And when you kick up, you want to have your shoulders shrugged. So your shoulder blades should be elevated, okay, before you get into the handstand. Okay, let's do that again. So try to move gently and try to find the head position of your shoulders, of your wrists, before you reach the wall. Okay. So at first, this control is not going to be that easy, so you'll have to practice for hundreds, if not thousands of repetitions. Okay, then eventually, you'll be able to have better control rather than just using momentum to kick up into the handstand against the wall. So now we're going to show you the walking up to the wall version. So you're going to have your hands off the ground. From here, you're going to go, for this progression, you're going to have your arms over your heads, and you're going to reach forwards with a single leg RDL, and then you're going to place your hand on the ground, and using the momentum, you're going to kick up into the wall. Now, as a beginner, the problem with this progression is that you will rely on your momentum too much, and you will forget how to balance stack your hips over your shoulders, over your wrists, without the wall. Okay, so in order for you to slow down and find that optimal balance, you probably want to start on the ground, with your hands on the ground, and learn to stack your hips over your wrists. So that way, eventually, you can move on to the freestanding handstand without having to use a wall. So this is where the first option of the second progression comes in handy. So that means you want to place your hands on the ground to begin with, as opposed to walking up to the wall and kicking up into the handstand. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our hands, again, at about 15 centimeters away from the wall, with your hands on the ground. And what we're going to do is we're going to kick up with the back leg, and you're going to try to find that vertical position, and you're going to follow up with the front leg, and try to bring the feet together in alignment before your heels touch the wall. So start with a small range of motion with your feet down here, and then we're going to go up, higher, slowly increase your range of motion until you get to that vertical position. So learn to kick up and bring your feet together. Yep. So eventually you learn to rely more on your balance as opposed to falling down this way. Okay, so think about gravity. If your feet are down here, obviously you're going to fall down this way a lot easier, but eventually you want to get more vertical so that you can hold here before you touch your heels on the wall. So once you get to the vertical position, you got to go back to the first progression, which was pronated hollow holds. Remember, in the pronated hold position, we want to be elevating the shoulder blades. We want to squeeze your abs, squeeze your butt, squeeze your quads, tension in your toes, stretch your body all the way forwards, all the way back. So now we're going to be upside down. We're going to apply the same tension while we're in that vertical position. And once you get to that the vertical position, you want to grip the floor with your fingertips. If you feel like you're going to tip forwards, try to use your fingertips not to tip forwards. So that way you can hold the freestanding handstand for as long as you can before your heels touch the wall. Yes. Okay. So once you can proficiently do this progression, You can move further away from the wall, so there you can try and hold a vertical position for up to 10 seconds before touching the heels on the wall. So it'll be essentially the same drill, except that you'll rely on the wall less and less as you move further away from the wall.